Okay, so Miss Graham's going to kick us off.
Sure. So as you start to think about next year, which is really hard to believe we're thinking about 22-23 school year, and you're thinking about acceleration, which is offered for math and science next year, the best source of information in making that decision is your own child. You know your child the best. And it's important that they really are buying into the process and they are ready to be challenged and understand the level of rigor that's involved in taking advanced algebra or living environment. As we know, there are 2 high school courses. So what are the benefits of taking an advanced course in 8th grade? We've found that when students start to take some high school courses in 8th grade, they develop those important skills of self-discipline, some resiliency skills, and when they earn those additional high school credits, one for each of the advanced courses in math and science, or if they just choose one, that's fine too. It will lead to some possible increased opportunities for taking advanced courses in high school. Some parents talk with their child and take a look at the recommendations from the teachers and decide that acceleration at this time is not in the best interest of their child. Some students aren't emotionally ready to take on a high school course, and especially as these grades will go on a transcript, a permanent record that colleges will look at if you are going to be considering college for your child's future. So it's really important that they're not only academically ready, but they're emotionally ready for the challenges of high school classes as well. So how do you know if your child is ready for those advanced courses? Asking a few questions can be really helpful if you think about your child, again, because you know your child best. Are they self-motivated? Are they willing to take on that independent responsibility of communicating directly with teachers if they happen to be absent or if they need some extra help? And when the work becomes challenging, because it is more challenging in those advanced classes, are they able to push through? Are they able to show that perseverance? Do they continue to work even if they don't do well in an assessment? So those are some things to think about as you're considering accelerated classes for your child in 8th grade.
So as I mentioned in the beginning, for Dake, for 7th to 8th grade, there's an opportunity to advance in math and science. So I'm going to speak a little bit about the math and then move on to the science. So for math, like Ms. Graham shared, advanced algebra is a credit-bearing course, and students would take the Regents exam in June. So they would need to pass the course and the Regents in order to get credit, high school credit for that class. As of right now, Regents are resuming, but we we're moving forward with that in mind, but we're not, we will follow the communication from the state in that regards. I know the Regents have been canceled, but we are holding the January Regents, so we are moving forward with the intention that June Regents will continue. Advanced algebra is a bit faster paced than 9th grade algebra because it does incorporate many concepts of Math 8 into the algebra course. So they're really doing the full algebra course plus portions of Math 8 that they'll need later on in geometry. So it does move a bit quicker than the Math 8 course. Students need to come in with just the desire to persevere and work on precision and thinking critically. We don't expect these skills to be fully refined, but it really, again, is that desire and that willingness to engage and productively struggle. So struggle and have, just some discovery and critical thinking around concepts and be, under the facilitation of the teacher, really being supported to kind of increase that curiosity and just that working to understand and make sense of the mathematics. So again, students will leave Dake with algebra completed. That's the prerequisite to enroll in an AP computer science principles class. So that is an option for them after 8th grade if they do take algebra in 8th grade. Math 8 aligns with our New York State math standards. So it's that K-8 progression. They'll be finishing up those K-8 set of standards and they'll be prepared for success in Regents algebra in 9th grade. It really provides that strong foundation, focuses a lot on ratios and proportions, Pythagorean theorem, all those things that will help them when they move into algebra in freshman year. So they would take Math 8 in 8th grade, and then they would typically take Algebra 1 as a freshman, and then can also go on. There's still an opportunity to take rigorous math and computer science courses at the high school. So it does not mean that they cannot go on to take advanced courses once they get onto the high school in completion of algebra. The learning pathway for mathematics, there's a lot of cross ability here in terms of the coursework. So on the left side of your screen, you will see the kind of trajectory for students that take Math 8 in 8th grade. They would go on to take Algebra 1 in high school, and then move forward with the progression on the left with an opportunity to go into Algebra 2, take discrete stats, maybe take pre-calculus. So there's a lot of pathways if they start with Math 8 on the left-hand side of your screen. On the right-hand side of the screen really shows our students that would accelerate for next year in 8th grade. So they would take Algebra 1 Advanced as an 8th grader. Most students move right into Geometry Advanced, and then there's pathways from there into different sections as well. In terms of Algebra 2 Advanced, they could do math analysis and go on to Calc AB or BC, or both of those depending on other courses that they take. So there's a lot of pathways, but it's just showing just the differences when they do head into the high school, what courses they would start with as a high school student. For science, the two opportunities for science are Living Environment or Science 8. So Living Environment is also a high school credit bearing course, and that does also culminate in a Regents exam. Something specific about the science courses, students must satisfy 30 hours of lab work over the course of the school year. And the way that we accomplish that at Dake is that every other day, students will have a double period of science. So let's say they have Living Environment first period, every other day they would have Living Environment first and second period. So it'll be that double block where they do their lab work. To engage in this coursework, it would really be that high level of independence, focusing on precision as well, just like mathematics, critical thinking, that quality of work. There's often times where labs and assignments have to be completed outside of the school day. So it'd be important to take that into consideration when you're thinking about advancement. Science 8 is again finishing that K-8 continuum of standards. So they gain experience with concepts around life science, physical science, earth science, and space science. So they engage in a lot of hands-on. They really think about how to think and communicate as scientists with authentic hands-on context. So our science lessons really start with a kind of an event where students have to explore and think about, well, why does this really happen? And they explore that through the process of the unit and come out with deeper scientific understanding. And students in Science 8 will take one period of science daily. So that does not include a double period. The trajectory for science is somewhat similar for mathematics. So for students that are starting the science pathway in the advanced way through Living Environment. In 8th grade, that would be then their first year would be Living Environment. And then 9th grade, their second year, they would take earth science. Then they could go on to take chemistry and physics. And there's also opportunities for electives in environmental science, optics, and insights in chemistry. For students that take Science 8, so then their first year for Living Environment would be 9th grade, and then 10th grade would be earth science, and so on. So for both of these pathways, there are opportunities for advancement. It just depends on what year that they would hit that advancement. And then the elective opportunities are the same for both if they take Science 8 or Living Environment. So these charts, I will also show where these are, and they will be in the recording to kind of refer back to these as well, just to support with the understanding of the trajectory of the courses in these two content areas. The next piece I just want to talk about is just our process here. The past couple of years, we've really looked at our process for communication, and we have enhanced just input from families and from students and teachers around the acceleration piece. So in December, so this month, our math and science teachers are going to share course options with students. So to talk about, you know, it's really early, but we're really already thinking about math and science, and here are some opportunities for advancement. And here's some things we also take into consideration when we look at advancement for students. I will be reaching out via email early to mid-January, so after the new year, with a letter just to explain the options again with the same similar information. And there'll also be a Microsoft form that we're asking families to complete. So to talk with your student about math and science advancement and decide, is this a good fit for your student? Is this something that you'd be interested in pursuing? And then you would submit that form. And that's just a way to inform our process and help give us another data point of interest and willingness to want to engage in accelerated coursework, or to say, you know, I want to accelerate in one and not the other, or it's not a good fit for me right now for, you know, it could be for a variety of reasons. So we'll gather that information by the beginning of February. Then in mid-February at the building level, what we also do is we'll look at the family input. We also look at some academic data points, and we also look at teacher input in terms of participation, engagement in classes, in terms of problem solving in class. And then we look at the academic data of some on-demand assessments, information from iReady, and then we look at common formative assessments as well to kind of have a full data package for students. From there, we make tentative recommendations based on your input and all those other factors, and we will send that to families. Along with that is an opportunity if you were recommended or not recommended, and that should say math or science, not English or social studies, so I will correct that on the slide for end of February, and Ms. Graham will talk through that process. So you may have initially said in February, you know, we're not interested, but then based on the student data, you were recommended. Those don't necessarily match. So if we recommend, if your student or your child is recommended and you say, no, we're not really interested in that, there's a process for that, and vice versa. So if your child was not necessarily recommended at first and you weren't interested in and change your mind on that based on the information, there's an option for that too. And we have developed a process here that will include conversations with teacher, family, and student, just to make sure we're communicating clearly, just to find that best fit for your student again. After that form is due, we will kind of make our revisions and have conversations as needed on an individual basis. And late April, early May, we'll be sending out a finalized list to families just to close that communication loop. So you're informed about what course your student will be enrolled in come September of next year. All right, Ms. Graham, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, so this is just kind of a summary of what Marianne just presented. And again, we know this is a lot, so we have some time for questions either in the chat or if you want to share it live, that's fine too. So the process, again, tentative recommendations for acceleration will be mailed to you at the end of February. And if you're in agreement with the acceleration, you don't have to do anything. No action needs to be taken. If you have some questions about that, there is a form you can fill out and we can take a look at that and make decisions that are in the best interest of your child. And again, you know your child best. And we're just asking that these be in by the end of March, which gives us a chance to figure out staffing and scheduling, which, believe it or not, takes almost a half a year to do that, to make sure everything is up and ready to go for the 2022-2023 school year, which is really hard to believe that we're talking about that. So this is just kind of a summary of the process.
And just wanted to show you, this is what the form will look like. So it just kind of explains the tentative request will be with this form. So, you know, like Ms. Graham said, if you're in agreement, no action needs to be taken. But if you would like to request a change either to advance or to not advance, so to request or decline, there's a process to talk. The student would talk with the teacher first to just have a conversation about that, and then talk with families and get the signature. And then you would complete the change request form below and bring that into the counseling office by the end of March, just so we can update our staffing and update student scheduling, because we are already starting it at that point. The other piece before we open up to questions is I just wanted to share our Dake website to show you where some of these resources are, and more will be posted. So this is our homepage of our website. And if you look at quick links, right here, it says 22-23 course information. When you click on that, most of the stuff in here right now is for 8th go 9th, because their process starts a little bit earlier. But once I email out the letter for families, that will go on this webpage too. Our recording from tonight will go on there. And then there's also 2 short videos that you can view right now about the advanced science information and then advanced math information. A lot of it is similar to what we talked about, but just another resource from our Director of STEAM, Dr. Marrero. So at this point, we can open it up for any questions you may have. And again, you can unmute yourself and ask questions, or you can pop it right in the chat. We understand, we know it's a lot of information, so any questions you have, we welcome.
And sometimes you might not know what your questions are until this whole process starts. So if you come up with questions later on, you can always contact your child's counselor, myself, or Ms. Hyman will be happy to get back to you. Oh, that's a great question. So do the students take the advanced classes at Dake or at the high school? Unless something changes, they do stay right here at Dake and take the course from one of our teachers here at Dake.
Okay, so just like Ms. Graham said, I want to thank everybody for being here this evening. I know